Someone else that I've noted that reads similar to Schaeffer is J. Gresham Machen.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
When you read, for example, Christianity and Liberalism,
Yeah.
and supposedly Dr. Schaeffer had said at some point that someone asked him, he said, "You're a lot like Machen." He said, "A lot like Machen." He emphasized that.
Yeah.
There is an admiration there, apparently.
Yeah. So Schaeffer and Machen, I think there's no doubt that Machen was a towering figure for Schaeffer. Machen obviously was thick into church disputes at the time at which Schaeffer was arising and being formed in seminary. Machen, spearhead for Westminster Seminary, where Schaeffer enrolled and studied for that first year. Machen was the conservative Presbyterian voice who was battling for the Bible, standing against modernism, all of the things which came in that early period to shape Schaeffer. And in some ways, I think Machen was maybe a little bit clearer as to where some of those lines were than were some of the Dutch voices at Westminster Seminary. Machen also travelled Europe, as Schaeffer would do. It seems to me that Machen was formative on Schaeffer in so many of those ways. I seem to recall there's a couple of passages where Schaeffer references Machen, and I'm trying to think, it may actually be Edith in Tapestry and other places. So I think there was some correspondence, there was some personal relationship there. But Machen, out of all those figures, McIntyre was a big voice, Karl McIntyre, but Machen was more scholarly, more engaged, and I think Machen became for Schaeffer kind of the figure to take his bearings from. And Machen's interesting because he was not anti-cultural. As much as he spoke firmly to issues of liberalism and cultural compromise, Machen also had a developing view of the Christian's role in culture that sounds Schaeffer-esque. When I read Machen on Christianity and culture, boy, I'm hearing Schaeffer, and vice versa.
Do you sometimes wonder about if Machen hadn't passed early, what the denominational groups would have been like, and maybe this up-and-coming Schaeffer might how that might have looked?
Yeah, this is kind of one of those, how history could look different, right? If Machen hadn't passed, I think a lot of things might be different. I think Westminster would be a different school. Faith Seminary may not have split off. That may have been held together, or may have come back into the fold. Schaeffer may have been want to stick around at Westminster. All speculative on my part, but it seems to me that Machen was a key figure, and that when he passed, that had something of a kind of a deleterious effect. Lots of energy that was pent up began to kind of move in more disparate directions. Could Machen have held that together? I don't know. Possibly. If Machen had have survived and been alive, I wonder, I could have foreseen Schaeffer bringing Machen into the L'Abri orbit a little bit. I could well see connections there, but again, I'm speculating now. I mean, obviously L'Abri formed a lot later. There's all kinds of questions.
Yeah, and would L'Abri have formed without the separation from McIntyre?
Exactly. Yeah, that's right. It's who knows.
Yeah.
But I do think there is an interesting piece of work to be done on Machen's influence on Schaeffer. That's kind of a little bit unexplored, I think.